All righty. So as we are going live, I'm really excited to have everybody here. We see that the room is filtering in. Looks like we've got about 29 folks in the audience ticking up as we go along. Welcome, welcome to this tutorial session here hosted by Heartbeat. This is how to future-proof your membership with perfect pricing, featuring Lisa Princek. Super excited to have everyone here. As a general rule, welcome. If you are tuning in through social media, hello. Your comments below the live stream will be fed to us with just a slight couple second delay. If you are tuning in through the studio link, welcome to the studio. You can engage right in the chat with the community. We'll be able to have all of your questions here bubbled up through the live stream chat. Misty says hello. Tarika says hello. Super great to see everybody there. If you can drop in the chat, I would just love to hear where are you guys tuning in from. We got 32 folks watching live. I'm tuning in from just outside of Syracuse, upstate New York. Anybody else? Let's see. We've got Boston. We've got Los Angeles, Kenya, Spain, Arizona, Vancouver, Michigan. Amazing, amazing. Colombia. Okay, we have a global audience here, Lisa. This is very exciting. So
Vancouver Island, not Vancouver. That's
Vancouver Island. Sorry. Thank you for the correction. I appreciate that very much. And we have Mexico. Excellent, excellent places. Okay. As a general way this is going to work, guys, I'm going to introduce Lisa here in just a minute. But as you know, with our new live streaming format, the best way to keep your comments flowing to us is through the chat. Make it a stream of consciousness. Don't feel like you need to write an essay. If you have great questions, I can put them right up on the screen. I'll even demo that right now. That we have Tim from Germany. Super excited to be there. If you have questions, I can put it up, and Lisa and I can help address that with you. And as always, would just please be respectful, be kind with your comments to everyone. We're here to learn. Some things that are obvious to some are brand new to others. Super excited to grow our skills here together. So up next, we're going to intro our speaker. You can expect to have about 30 to 40 minutes of lesson and wisdom, and then we're definitely going to make sure we have enough space for Q&A throughout and at the end. So if I may, Lisa, I'm going to put you on a pedestal for a minute. I'm going to hype you up, and thank you very much for being here. So Lisa is a business strategist and membership expert who helps thought leaders and niche experts build wildly successful membership programs. She is dedicated to helping impact-driven entrepreneurs scale their business with powerful positioning and profitable memberships designed around their zone of genius. A staunch believer in simplicity and intention, she helps her clients accomplish their goals by focusing on what to do and what to ignore. In her uptime, she keeps busy biking and skiing in the coast mountains of British Columbia. I am so excited to welcome you here, Lisa. If you would, tell us what we can look forward to in a very brief way, and then we'll kick off and get into the main body of the content.
Yeah. Okay. So in a nutshell, we're just going to talk about how to create sustainable pricing for your membership, because if you don't have sustainable pricing, it's not going to last. And so no matter where you're coming from, whether you have a large audience or a small audience, it's really important that you figure out that right balance. And you're going to walk out of here knowing how to price your membership or how to reprice it, because you can always change it if you have already started it and aren't sure. Yeah.
Awesome. That is a great, honestly, I feel like that probably intersects with the majority of community builders on Heartbeat. And we're really excited for that. Guys, we're going to kick this off right here. I did want to make a quick note. If you guys noticed in the chat, Misty Dorman here is with us today off cam, but we're super grateful that she's here nonetheless, because she's coming off of just a couple sequential surgeries, minor, and she's recovering very well. So she's here in person, just off camera. So Misty, thank you for being here. Appreciate you for supporting us behind the scenes and backstage. All right, Lisa.
I'm excited for this talk today.
Oh, so good. It's going to be so amazing. All right, Lisa, let's kick us off. Take us away. I'll help you with the screen share, and I'll manage the questions in the chat, and we'll get going from here. Any engaging questions or polls or things you want to kick off with for the audience, or just dive into some content?
Am I sharing?
Yes, you are sharing. We are good.
So I can't actually find my notes, and I really like my notes. So let me just see if I can actually find them.
That's all right.
Here it is. Oh, I found it. Okay, I'm so excited. Okay. So yeah, feel free to interrupt with a question. I'm happy to do that, but I'm really going to help you choose sustainable pricing for your membership. Now, please keep in mind that none of this is set in stone. These are just I love categories. I love structuring things. It really helps me to put things in buckets to get my head around them. So I've done a lot of that analysis over my lifetime in business, and I'm just going to help you try to think through how you can make a good decision that you can live with. So if you've also done training on pricing before, you might have known, sought through a lens of different kinds of offers, but don't forget memberships are a little bit different because they're going to potentially last for years and years and years. So that's where you have to put more thought into it in advance than you would to a different kind of program or course where you can just, change the price for the next person that comes along. So, this really, again, is how do you price it so it starts and remains sustainable, because you're going to be potentially at different size of groups that you might have. You might start small, get bigger. The opposite can happen. So you want to make sure that you're thinking about this for any kind of scenario. So really this is a question I was curious to know how many people here are in, boat one, don't have a membership yet and are confused about pricing, or just really want to figure it out first. And I'm also curious to know how many people have a membership and are confused about their pricing and are potentially not sure if they have the right price point. So maybe, Mike, you can tell me, because I can't see.
I will. I'll bubble them up to you. Let's see. We've got, oh my goodness. We've got let's see, boat two, boat one, 1, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2. I'm counting. That's about half and half.
That's a pretty even split.
It's a pretty even split.
Okay, so we're going to have
we do have qualitative. We do have some qualitative answers here. We have Rachel has said, I'm about to shift my community from one model to a new one. And then Andy says, have a membership for 5 years, but I'm questioning my price lately. Then we also have one running, but not sure if I'm at the right price point. So we have some qualitative answers as much as the numbers.
Okay, great. And I think let's save a little bit of time, and I'll try to weave this idea in of like what's happening right now. I think a lot of people are really doubting pricing at the moment because of just this economy being a little slow and people being a bit nervous about spending. So let's address that as well, because I don't necessarily think it is the right time to start doubting that, just because there's actual reality out there that things might not be, as as skyrocketing as they were in the past, but it doesn't necessarily mean it's time to go down. So right. I'll keep that in mind as we go. So as I mentioned, or as Mike mentioned, I'm Lisa Princik. I'm a membership coach. So I just want to say it took me a super long time to create a program that would scale my business and could grow with me. And I mean, I was really nervous to launch any kind of group program. I'm really mindful of people getting good value out of things. And I also like to not feel like I'm giving away stuff for not enough too. So that combination really kept me slow. Like it really prevented me from doing anything super permanent, long-term group oriented for a very long time in my business. Because I sent my first newsletter out in 2009. But since then, I did narrow down from being a life coach to business strategist, which I still am, but to focusing mostly on membership businesses. And that was about 6 years ago. And since then, I've worked with hundreds of membership owners, both privately, and I teach thousands of them through programs like Membership School, which is my signature program that now lives inside the Scaling Deep Society, which is my ongoing membership. And I'm not going to mince this. I changed my pricing probably 5 times in 3 years. So I didn't get it completely right. And I flip-flopped a lot, and that's okay to do, especially if you've got you're just growing slowly. But I want to prevent that a little bit for you today. So that's what we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about what goes into sustainable pricing. These are the considerations when you want to make it sustainable. I want to talk to you about value pricing, and that's going to help you think about it through the lens of your customers, your members, and not just yourself. And then I'm going to actually just give you the 4 membership pricing categories. So these are the categories that I see out there, and you can just help you decide which one you're actually in. But let's talk about the mistakes. These are the common classic mistakes. are charging too little for the number of people we actually get in the membership. And I want to talk about that a lot because not everyone's going to grow rapidly and not everyone has a huge audience. And I know we need to think about what does a growth future membership look like if we're at 50 members or 100 or 500. But, we have different paces in how we'll get there. And so sometimes if we're charging based on having 1,000 people, but you have 10, you might be feeling a little bit different about it. Offering too many features for the price point. So you are giving them more of a premium style of offer, but you're still charging too little for it. And then over delivering on what you promised because you're one of those people who really cares about people and wants them to get great value. And you like showing up and spending time with them, but you're actually giving them, like trying to give them everything. And that's just a little bit more about fire hosing. So these are common mistakes. I mean, you can put in the chat if you've ever done that before, but I think a lot of people do this because it's really hard to not feel like we can deliver our best. And we also recognize that there's almost no limit inside of membership sometimes. So just want to make sure that we're really pulling back and doing what is sustainable for us and them inside it. So I was going to say, I've done all this throughout my 16 years in business, and I'm curious to know if anyone else has felt like they've done that. I have a lot of members in my Scaling Deep Society that are doing the same thing. You're not alone. You don't need to change who you are, but you probably need to learn to work with this because you also need to earn enough to make this worth it. Not instantly, but you want to eventually make sure that this is a good move for you. And I also want to say that, value is very subjective. There's no formula. So we're not, all in a widget market where the market just sets this price. It's something you're coming up with based on what you value and how you think about money. And I wanted to say that a very different person with a different perspective and personality might end up choosing a different kind of pricing for the very same kind of program. So I just want you to be aware of the influence of your own money mindset when you are choosing pricing, because it's incredibly rooted in our families of origin and our early life experiences. And it's going to actually make you see something completely different in a different way than someone else. So let's dive in. This section 1 is on sustainable pricing. And I just want to go through the different goals you have to have around pricing. So in order to be sustainable, it needs to be profitable. It needs to be scalable. It needs to be enduring, and it has to be satisfying. These are all elements that go into it being truly sustainable, which meaning it can last. And I'm going to go through each one. Profitable is basic, right? You want your revenue to exceed your expenses. So that means you're not putting more into it than you're getting out of it for the long term. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of a hockey stick, like you're going to be investing more into things and then it starts to get profitable. But at some point it needs to be. And if you're 6 months in, a year in, and you are almost losing money or not accounting for any of your time, you need to consider that. And you need to consider, like, am I realistically able to do this for the long term? Am I able to make enough to keep it going? Could I be doing other things in my life and earning? So you've really got to give yourself a point where you have to reflect on this honestly with yourself, because at the end of the day, this is why you're here. It's to do the work and it's to also earn something from it. So, you just need to think through these things, like how much am I spending to get each member in and how much are they worth? So knowing things like that is going to be really, really important. I urge you to track your hours and your numbers so that you're just not completely like head in the sand about this, because at the end of the day, you're a business owner who's doing work that you love, but it's still business owner comes first when you're trying to earn from it. And you're not a nonprofit. So scalable is basically taking profit and knowing that you can actually, at scale, you can earn from it. So you could have a low profit margin, but if you have lots of members, for example, you will end up with still like a decent amount of, you've paid off your expenses, you're paying your your salary or whatever. So you have to know that this can work, and that it's also becoming more efficient to run and grow, and that adding more members doesn't significantly add more time. So if you've got a membership that you're like, oh, every single person who comes in gets all these things or private things or whatever it might be, then you're looking at that going like, would this really work with hundreds of people in it? Or would I have to add new staff or more calls? You just want to really look at that. Like, can you scale this? And if you can't keep growing it, then you have to question it's not really sustainable either. So just thinking about over time, like, what is it costing you to deliver it, and can you truly grow? Because it's usually we're going into building a membership because we know that it can grow and that it gets better with more people to some point. And you just want to make sure that it doesn't double the cost or double the amount of work. When you say get double the amount of members, it's not really the point of it. The next, oh, I spelled that wrong, enduring. So you just want people to want to stay for a decent amount of time, and you want to make sure that it can last for people. So you don't want necessarily it to be, even if you're charging a lot for it, people to come in for, say, a month. That's not the purpose of it. So you want people to stay for the long term, or at least some people stay for the long term and get more out of it over time. And you want that price aligned with your long-term goal. That they would value investing in order to get that result. And this is where you've got to really understand your member lifetime value and get clear on what that is, because knowing that, you can adjust your pricing based on that, and you can make decisions on that because you're getting a sense. So that will help you figure out, if you already have a membership, how long are people staying and how much are they spending? And is it really worth it to you? Because some people have really big courses, for example, inside. Like, I have a big course inside my membership. And there was a period where I was charging monthly for it. And I thought, I'm not comfortable with somebody coming in and spending $97 and like getting $1,000 course essentially and then leaving. So I decided to change my pricing because I was not cool with that. So this is really interesting. This is something that you can figure out depending on how you're pricing, what you're doing now and how long they're staying and what you feel like the value is. Like, does it make sense that they have to stay longer to get more out of it? Or are they just be able to get everything they need and leave in a month? And you just want to make sure that you're really thinking through about helping at least a portion of the people for the long term. And then the next one is satisfying. So do you feel good about showing up to do the work every day, serving your members in exchange for the amount that you're receiving from them? That is subjective, and that may change, but you do want to make sure that you're feeling really good about it, because you have to show up well, you have to show up enthusiastically, you have to show up as a guide and a leader, and that's going to help them get more out of it, refer, be happy, give great testimonials. So this is ultimately part of sustainability. If you hate it, you're not going to do as great of a job. So this is part of where sometimes if you feel like you're not getting enough out of it for the time you put in, you will feel maybe resentful and not feel as inclined to sell it or show up or give good value, and that's really what your job is to do. So you just want to make sure that this is part of it, because a lot of people, what you're really excited to get when you first launch, a year from now, if that hasn't grown, that might not be as satisfying. So just keep that in mind. And it sounds like some people who are questioning their pricing, it could be that is part of the factor. Like, oh, when I first started this, I was like, yay, $1,000 a month or $2,000 a month. That felt like, awesome. And now I'm like, wow, this has been day in, day out for a couple of years now. And I'm questioning that.
Right.
Okay.
If I could bubble up a quick question here. We have Nina in the chat. Wanted to know, how do you weigh the monthly price versus paying up front for, say, a fixed 6 to 12 months? This was related to your question about pricing that big course you had.
Well, so if you want to set a minimum, I think that's perfectly acceptable if you feel like the value just is there and you're not comfortable with anyone paying less than that, and it's not really evening out over the long term. So it's like, if you have a few people that are looky-loos, and there are going to be people who want something, they think they want it, and then they change their mind. They thought they're ready, they're not. And that's okay. That's impersonal, to be honest. It's about them, not you. And although that is different, people have different sensitivities, and I know that I really am a sensitive person, and I just don't love that. But you can also look at, well, how long does on average people stay, and you can price accordingly, or what is the value of that? So you could say, well, I really don't want anyone to come in for less than 6 months or less than a year or for X amount of price, because that's what I feel like the value of this is, especially depending what you have on in there. And you can sell it that way. I mean, I sell lifetime access, which is totally, I know it sounds like this doesn't sound like a membership, but it really truly is. People will show up after a year or two on a call, and that's totally great. But I just felt better about selling it because I was giving them access to a pretty strong course, and that I didn't want to have to just sort of like work to get that ongoing membership. So I just found a value that, to me, it was like what I might charge the course on its own plus a few months in the membership. So
Right.
is that, there's an
you were,
example there of how I completely like changed it up to make it work for me and to
yeah.
feel really good and ethical about what I was giving.
That's a very good point, and I love that we're speaking transparently about pricing. So I have a similar story, and it's very short. I was promoted from customer to team member at Heartbeat. So I was first and foremost a community builder, purchased a platform to build my own community. And I launched with a monthly and annual option. And I noticed that people who came in monthly never stayed more than 2 months. But people who stayed annual stayed 2 years or more once I had enough data
Yeah.
to look at that. I'm like, oh, so it's really people like the transformation that I was promising for being a member took longer to experience than all those moments where churn could have happened if you're on a monthly plan. And so I had better success with retention by lengthening the renewal window out to a year. We do have questions bubbling up now from a couple folks related to trial periods. Do you recommend a free week? Do you offer any trial period at all? And do you offer refunds of any type? There's general questions in that realm.
I think trial makes sense in some cases. I've actually, it's funny. I've never really worked with anyone who has a free trial, or that I've worked with them long enough to know how that went for them. So I know people do it. I know people with big audiences do it. And it could work if you have a really robust community and it's all about community. It's about the buzz, and you know that them just getting them in there to see that is going to kind of get them excited. And so that is a possibility, but honestly, it's a test. You can literally test it. So I can't say anything, but I do have a refund because I really believe in, if you're going to charge over a few $100s for anything, you should probably give them an opportunity to get out if they really are disappointed, because nobody likes a bait and switch. And what you end up doing with a refund, this is proven that you actually get more people to come and buy. And very few people will actually ask for the refund because they just didn't want to get in and not like it, or be like, oh, this is really not what I expected. So you actually will get more sales in the end than refunds. So I think with a longer term price point, yes, a higher price point, it's a great idea. Mine is 7 days because I'm not there to say, come in for 30 days and take everything and leave, because it's just too long. Mine's more of like a buyer's remorse kind of thing. Like, oh, I actually changed my mind. I don't actually need this. I have no time for this. What was I thinking? Like they're just changing. So I believe in that. And I think it gets more people to buy in the long run.
For
So yeah,
sure.
that's how I do it. And again, you can keep it a short period. It's just, it encourages them. It really shows your trust and your honesty there. And they'll like that.
I think that's a great answer, and it inspired just a couple other questions of Misty, our co-host, made an observation that in her community, free trial people canceled during when she was testing a free trial period, that they didn't, based on her offer structure, did not have enough skin in the game to take action to engage in the community.
Yeah.
And I could see that it really is dependent on, you have to know your audience intimately to understand what works and how your offer fits. I do a free trial in my community and I upsell free to paid, reasonably successfully with my model, but it depends on the people you're courting and a whole host of varieties from a
And
buyer.
like the technology, right? So that if you are manually putting people in and taking them out and unsubscribing, like it really depends on what your offer suite is in terms of your platform.
Right.
And it might just be complicated. So I would just make sure it's easy for you because you don't want to be burdened with admin. Like that's not the point of being in a membership, right? It's not, or having a membership is having all this admin. So I would just, whatever can work for you. If you have your process, you can try it out. Like give things a long go though, because, it's not about like, oh, that didn't work and throw the whole thing out. Maybe it was just one part of that funnel that didn't work. So you could, maybe it needs a 2-week trial. If you're going to try the 7-day trial, then try the 2-week. And then before you say, no, this doesn't work for me at all. So again, it's really different and it depends on who you attract. And I like committed people. I think I'm a bit more of that all or nothing kind of person. I like to give things a go. So I like that. I like attracting that to me. And I like getting to know people. So I'd prefer to not have in and outs. And that's just me. If you have a large membership, like a large audience and people are coming and going, you have no idea. I mean, I have a client with 2,600 members or something. I mean, I haven't even started to dive into how many people cancel on a daily basis, but I can imagine quite a few. But you don't know, right? You don't see it because when you're operating at that level, you're not seeing can I cancel? So I think you just have to decide on your system.
Got it. Yep, that makes sense. I don't want to slow you down too much. I can take notes on some of the additional questions here. Or do we have space to take a few more? You know how much content you've got.
Yeah, I mean, we're probably will. Some of them will get answered, but sure. If we start to get to some that might be answered, then for sure. But
you just let me know, and we'll hold on until the opportune moment.
Take a couple more. Let's do it.
Let's see here. So we've got what do you do with the existing members if you start off too low and then need to increase your price? Does that come up later?
Oh no, I mean, I wouldn't. I think usually you guarantee people's rate. Like I wouldn't increase prices on people who've been around for a while. Is that what you mean?
That's the way I'm reading it. It's from Carol in the chat. So Carol, if you wanted to drop additional context.
Yeah, I think no, I wouldn't. I think usually with memberships, people are locking in and you rarely change. I know it's not always the case on big subscription companies, but I would say that you could lose them if you decide to say, oh, I'm upping the price on you. Think about someone who's been there for a year. They've already invested a year's worth, right? So they've already invested in that long lifetime value.
Yeah.
I would probably not change that because again, you're adding more people. If they're taking over a slot because you only have 20 slots or 50 slots, that's more of like maybe a mastermind. And you might want to, consider that. But I'd say membership, if it's just clicking over, I wouldn't change it.
Sure. And are you an advocate for requiring payment info or not requiring payment info if you did encounter a free trial? I know you haven't worked with many, but do you have an opinion on the matter?
Yeah, I don't know that, and I think it depends on the software and all these things.
Sure.
What about you? Like you seem like you might be more the expert on that than me.
I will share an experience. So I'm in a weird scenario where I'm a marketer with experience in funnels and like e-commerce and all of that outside of just building a community because my career has been in marketing. But so I do a free trial. I do it without a card because the structure of the way I do the free trial in Heartbeat is that my community has only like 2 or 3 areas that are available for free. But when you sign up, the only invite link gives you the 1 week at the full access tier. And it immediately removes them from that free access tier and drops and closes all those channels and content off to them at the end of the trial period.
So they see it and then it's gone.
They see, yeah. In marketing we might call it like puppy dog adoption model, where it's like you go to see all the puppy adoption at the store when they have all the cute little puppies, and you're like, here, hold this puppy, now give it back. Well, no, I want the puppy. I don't want to give it back. And like that's the psychology that I'm using there. Not to trick people, but because they just genuinely experience the joy of having a puppy. And then you're like, well, now I actually do want a puppy. It's worth it for me. So that's my approach, mostly because I don't enjoy when I'm required to put a card in and then it's incumbent upon me to cancel if I'm just evaluating whether I like an idea or not. But sometimes if you've already built trust and had other sort of like trust building free experiences in the funnel further back where they don't need the trial, at that point they're ready to put skin in the game, put their card in the game, so to speak, then that can still be useful. So it really just comes down to like, I use my free trial as almost like a lead magnet of sorts to get people in. But if you're not using the trial as a lead magnet, if you're using the trial as part of the consideration step of evaluating whether someone wants to buy, then I could see the card being useful in that stage. So
and you don't want to trick people, and you want to make sure that they've seen all the emails, and you've got to honor the refund. Like if they're like, oh, I didn't see that, and you've charged me, I don't I just think that you can
invite a lot of admin work onto your plate accidentally.
Right? Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, it depends on the
All right,
system.
I think we're basically caught up there, but we do have a couple. Misty did make a comment that founding member pricing can be a good catch-all for your early folks who get
Yeah.
lower price if you do graduate the pricing in the future.
Yeah, like I would say you want to, that is your big, you can only launch something for the first time one time. So you really want to make sure that people are like, you're making a big stink about it when you're launching your membership for the first time. And I'd say that limited founding members, founding member price point, lock it in. That's a really, really good strategy. So I would use that.
Excellent.
Right. Anyways, I was just going to say that here, like, just as someone in my course who, went through the course, originally had a membership where she had like 3 people in it and barely anyone showed up. And she like quadrupled the price after going through this pricing course and ended up with like at least one sale right away at a really larger price point. And part of the problem with her is that she was offering something that was like required a bigger transformation, which I'm going to talk about in a second, that people were just not showing up because she was pricing it like a not very intimate program, almost like a giant program. And when she started pricing it at a higher price point, more people were interested because they actually were like committed to getting the change. So it does make a big difference, and also how you feel about what you're delivering. And sometimes when you're pricing very little, people are assuming that they're in like a giant group and, oh, I don't really need to show up very much. But if it's like a coaching membership or something, it's a really off, like it's going to throw people off. But I'm going to talk about all that really, really soon. So I just wanted to share that it does make a really big difference. So yeah, I actually have a lot to share. So I'm going to click through this pretty quickly. So here's a number of different ways to evaluate your pricing sustainability. So I'm going to just quickly go through these program types. Okay. And this is going to be fast, and because it's kind of the stuff I teach in my program, but it's off a tangent a bit, but like, let's say you have 3 types of memberships: a warm up where it's the first thing people buy from you. Your goal is to get people to probably buy up to more profitable programs or higher ticket programs. This would be, say, one type. I mean, yes, people can go back between the types, but like this would be like, I don't need to make as much from this because they're going to buy other things. So this could be like a paid freebie almost, right? If it's a low ticket, big community. And sometimes people do subscriptions like this. The next is like your flagship. So if you're like, I have one program and this is the only vehicle for delivering my value to my clients, then I would call this your flagship, meaning like you need this to be profitable because it's the only way you're earning. And then there's the follow-up. So this would be continued access after they've joined other programs. This is an easier sell because they already know you and worked with you, and perhaps they just want to continue working with you in a less intensive way. Usually the pricing on these can be higher, especially if you've had a premium one-on-one program or something, and then this is just like, oh, I want to keep it attached to your teachings and connected to you, but I don't really I don't need one-on-one. So this sometimes is more aligned with higher pricing, right? Because they'll be comfortable with that and they know you. So those 3 can help you figure out in some ways, like what does it have to be, that's where it sits in your business model. So it's a lot there, I know, but I just wanted to leave you with that because it allows you to look at it of the lens of, well, what does it actually mean to me more objectively within the scope of my entire business? So, number 2, how much support do members get? So choosing a bit from a value, which I'm going to get into, what is the market pricing in this niche? So you can always glance around at that, and also to look at your competition and go, well, maybe I need to differentiate completely away from them. Like maybe if they're offering something low ticket, I'll offer something high ticket because people are going to know it's significantly different and they're probably going to get something else out of it. So pricing does signal level of value that they're going to get. Just as if someone's going to join a really low ticket membership and they have to spend like 20 hours a week working on the thing in order to get value, they'll probably leave, because when they join something for $11 or $12 a month, they really probably think that they can pop in for 30 minutes and that's all they need with that amount of investment, right? So you want to make sure you're really signaling based on that. And then what is the value of the transformation? So how much is the outcome worth? And this is where I want to dive into this idea of value pricing. So value pricing is looking at, oh no, I didn't mean to put this slide in there. No, that's coming out. Okay, sorry. Value, how much is the outcome worth to your members? And I want to use like a coaching thing called coaching tool called Logical Levels of Change to look through these levels of transformation and what they require. So I'm going to go through each one because the higher the transformation is in some ways worth more, right? So if you think about this lower level, like you're really dealing with like something on the environment level. Like it's like, oh, I'm going to teach you how to plant seeds in your garden or something that's very small. It's like an interesting, it's like, I'll make things look, here's how to choose paint colors. Like we're talking like really small, tiny things that people learn that don't have a huge impact. And this is where you can think about like, oh, I have a community about people finding people. You're not really promising a big outcome. They're just hanging out with other people who are interested in this thing. They might learn a few things. It's just very basic. The next level is like, what can I do differently? They're learning how to change their behaviors. They're going to learn to think differently about something. They might think like, oh, like I'm now aware that I have some things to learn here. So they're learning a bit how to do some things. It's maybe a bit accountability oriented or just something where they're learning a few how-tos. So this would be like, say, the next level of change, of transformation. The next is capabilities, like skills and knowledge. Like they're actually learning how to do, like they have new skills, right? They're actually able to teach something. They are learning how to do something that's really changing their whole experience. You could be a Facebook ads manager and you have an ads membership and you're teaching them how to become Facebook ads managers, right? Like that, they can do a lot with that. Like that is like a huge impact that it has on their ability to earn or to go out and live life differently. So this is, or accomplishing a big sports race, how to train for it. They're going to know things now that they wouldn't have already known otherwise. And then the next level would be like values and beliefs. So this is deeper work, right? Like they're learning about who they are, and that's going to affect everything in their life, right? This is going to be more powerful and probably a little bit more intensive in work to get there. So they're going to know that you don't just read a piece of paper and go through a little worksheet once a month. You're probably doing deeper work with this kind of stuff. And then there's this whole identity piece, which is like, who am I? How do I define myself? How do others define me? That's a huge transformation. And that is probably a very immersive experience. And as we see, we're getting up further, that some of these might not even be memberships. Like, purpose would be the final one. That's the kind of giving back phase. And likely this is beyond what you're going to see most memberships based on, but it gives you a sense of what these different levels of membership or where your membership fits within this. And that's in some ways where it could be priced. Like, I'll give you an example. Like I was in a really big mastermind, which is kind of like a membership in that people could come at any time, but it was really high ticket. And it actually changed a little bit of how I see myself as a business strategist. And it gave me the confidence and skills to actually really change my pricing. And for the millionth time, because I've been doing this for a while, but this is just even in the last couple of years, it was a huge investment and it really changed how I see myself as a leader in my industry. So that you can see could be in a membership level. So this is just really a good question and a good time to ask you is like, where do you think your membership lies within these categories? And, is your membership part of a greater ecosystem of offers that will eventually lead to one of these? Like, where does it sit? And I think that sometimes we get so stuck in what to offer because we're like 3 calls a month. I'm like, great. But if you're sitting around and knitting with people, that's not necessarily going to be at a high level of transformation. So it allows you to think about this as in what is the value to them? What are they willing to invest? What is it worth to them? Because we all know something at a very high level is going to make a big impact in their life for the long term. So I don't know if you answer any questions or comments on this, but I think
let's give folks a chance to weigh in kind of rapid fire. Nina dropped in that she can see values and beliefs and identity for my community. If you guys would, I'm going to take this graphic off the screen briefly here. Why don't you look at identity, values and beliefs, skills and knowledge, behavior and actions, environment? Why don't you drop in the one that you think most closely aligns to where your offer is today? I would love to just see a quick little waterfall of responses. I know for myself, as my community has matured, when I first started it, it was just a place for my social media hardcore followers to come off platform. And so it was just environment for us to keep doing what I was doing in the comments. But it's elevated to behavior and actions and recently into skills and knowledge. So there's been kind of a graduation, speaking for myself. But if I were to read off some answers here, it looks like we've got skills and knowledge, behavior and action, is purpose related to creating third spaces? Is it just a question?
I don't know. Purpose, again, I don't know if that's a membership. It's probably free. So if you're charging for it, I mean, it's like a giving back. I mean, it's possible, but I don't know. I mean, identity is also pretty big. Purpose is probably intensive one-on-one work or retreats or nonprofit or, or I
real
don't know.
Deep work. Real deep
I
work.
think what I'm trying to say to all of you in the context of memberships, we're all going to think our work is powerful. And I'm not saying it's not, but people can over time, if they're in your membership for 5 years, probably gain a lot. But the average person is, think about that. Like they're coming in to learn something, to understand something more about themselves. I just want you to think about it that way a little bit more than say, oh, of course they could have a massive epiphany, and a lot of places they can.
Let's see. We have people who want to be between 2 and 4. So between behavior, actions, and values and beliefs. That's kind of the range that most of them seem to be. My purpose. So values and beliefs. We have skills and knowledge, identity and environment. Interesting. Okay, so we have a variety of ideas. We also have somebody saying that they have an information product with new time-based information monthly, plus components of behavior and actions. So it's a blend. That sounds like a pretty blended offer across a variety of. Lisa, would you say that they need to be segmented? Like we should focus in on one of these layers?
Not necessarily, but I would also think about like the fire hose thing. Like if you're all things to all people in this membership, then you might not be charging enough.
Right.
I'm just saying, like, if you're offering something that gives them everything they need in this world, then you probably are undercharging. I mean, that's a bit like I like to, put out strong statements and let's see how those take. But like, we have to challenge ourselves to really getting clear on the sustainability, the offer. I mean, you can offer something at a super high level if you have a lot of people. So this is where transformation and deliverables go together, right? So if you're offering high level values and beliefs to thousands of people, and they know they're not going to get a live, like one-on-one with you, like even 5 minutes of that, because there's thousands of people that can't probably get that kind of feedback. They can get that. You could be giving that. But if you're giving that to like 20 people and they're, and you're helping them work out big life stuff, it's almost like you could be doing that one-on-one or in a group program and charging more. And I just don't want you to water it down too much because it's a membership format and you don't have the volume. See what I mean? So it's just thinking about the deliverables, because for example, you don't need to have a coaching call every week if you're charging $25 a month. It's a lot for 10 people, so that means they could be paying way more than that. And I just want people to not undersell their value and attract the people who are committed to the result, because people will commit to the result. And sometimes they won't show up because they haven't invested. If you're investing $25 a month, you're not investing $250 and you're not investing $2,500. And I'll tell you what, when I was investing $2,000 a month, I was showing up.
You were paying attention.
I was immersed and I was getting a lot out of it and I was showing up for it. Some people, that's not much too. There are people in that mastermind that are not showing up as much, but they come for the twice a year retreats or whatever it might be, but that depends where they're at. So, you want to make sure that you're attracting the success, the people who want this to succeed, unless it's just about community and just about hanging out, and people don't need to get a huge change.
Okay.
testing it's just, I'm just challenging you to think about this in a bigger way.
I think that's the point. I think that's really useful because people, as much as we're learning things in these tutorials, sometimes it's good that we leave with questions that we need to do the work ourselves on and answer for ourselves.
Exactly.
Right?
This is food for thought. This is to like just pull you back from like not really thinking big enough sometimes. So
Sure.
I'm going to just quickly get through the next phase in this, which is the membership categories, which I've gone to put together these membership categories. So I did this a while ago. I would say there's 4. One is micro memberships, and micro memberships are, to me, less than $15 a month. Their purpose is really to have as many people as possible in them, and they're often on that lower level of like trainings, templates, guides, environmental behavior. It tends to be at that level. This can be administratively cumbersome. So this is where you want to be careful with what you're giving them. And sometimes this can work as a community, but only if it's only community. But what I see, which is a bit of a challenge with these, is that they're being priced for a subscription type of price point, but they're offering everything and they become a real nightmare. So this is also could say be a subscription model where you might not have a community and people can come and cancel, like, join and leave whenever, and you don't have to be part of that. But I wanted to just separate these out from low ticket memberships. So just to get you thinking about, like, are you pricing, at this micro level and trying to give them though at a full robust membership level? So that's why I pulled these out, because I know these popped up in like the last few years in droves, and everyone now has a really small subscription or membership. And sometimes people are just undercharging for them. It's fine if, again, it's your low level pricing point and you just are using it as an audience builder and you're not needing to make any profit on it, but you probably need a really large audience and a very simple delivery to make this one sustainable. Low ticket memberships are that next level up. So this is where you'd say pricing be above $15 to say maybe like under $97, depending if it's B2B or B2C, obviously, because $95 for a business to consumer hobby or something like that is getting high, whereas it's not necessarily in the high end if your audience is other business owners. These are where most memberships lie, and you can grow large in volume and retain members for a long period of time because they are at that sustainable level. People are getting a lot out of them. This often is at the behavior or skills level, which is what we saw a lot of people mentioning in the chat. And you're often having some portion of community and calls and trainings, or modules or something like that. So these work for people who have pretty good size audiences and you really know how to serve people who are focused on achieving the same goals. And the only pitfall I see with this, which I've talked a little bit about already, it's like sometimes you're undercharging and you end up coaching and mentoring people quite a bit. And you could be earning a lot more charging as an individual. Like you could be working with people privately and earning more for your time, right? So that's just something you have to check in on. And sometimes it's harder to get to that price, that number of volume of members that makes it really worthwhile. So sometimes like we think, oh, I want to get 100 members, but then we're stuck at 20 or 30, and this can sometimes get tricky. High ticket memberships. So this can be a really good core source of revenue if you have a good, strong sales system in place. It's easy to start small and be profitable quickly, because if you're charging several $100s a month and you have, say, 10 people, that you're doing okay right away. And sometimes you're still giving away too much coaching and content for too small of a group, but this can be, again, this is very similar to a low ticket membership. You're just charging a little bit more for it. And sometimes this goes up a little higher in the change level, like it's skills that are value or beliefs, because you could be also doing a little bit more of an organic delivery, like really meeting people individually where they are because they're working on complex things. And then the next level, which I mentioned already, is this premium membership. This is when the pricing can be like $500 and above or $2,000 and above per month. And often these are mastermind-like things, but they're also, if you really have a program you can join at any time, or anyone can join at any time. This really is in a membership category to me. So you can call it a mastermind. But you can also maybe even include a little bit of private support in this or private access in a very sustainable way, usually not long calls with individuals. And you'll have group calls, people learn from each other, but everyone's working at their own on their own thing and going at their own pace. So it's not necessarily like a group program where it's like, oh, we have 3 calls a month and everyone's working on the same things and having the same conversation. I mean, this is really a membership when everyone's just there at where they're at in their life or business. So this again can go up to really high. Like usually, you're right. You're someone actually mentioned this in the chat. You've probably got a lot of change levels going on in this. You're probably learning some skills. You're probably having to do values work and beliefs work, and you're probably actually going to have a big shift when you're running or in a program like this. So yeah, that's pretty much. If anyone has any questions on this, we can go through them, and then I'm getting close to wrapping up. So
I think we're staying abreast. I'm just keeping a check on the time with 8 minutes left. I want to make sure we can give you a wrap up at the end here.
Yeah.
I'm accruing some questions here at the end, guys. Let's let Lisa get through the final recap, and then I'll come and bubble the rest of these up at the end in one group.
Yeah, so I know I gave you guys a lot today, but really just sustainable. It's about sustainable pricing, making sure that you're not going in with too much doubt about pricing because of what you're bringing to it from your entire life. Know where your offer, or know what this offer is meant to do for your business and where it sits with your other programs. So just choose pricing you can stick out. Just understanding a bit more about those logical levels will help you kind of think about the real value you're delivering, and it might even push you to make some changes or offer a different kind of program on top of your membership or beside it. And then just really matching that outcome and commitment to the price point. And then I would just say getting clear on the category you're in will help you understand like how much you should deliver and how much you might need to pull back on delivering, because if you're in that low ticket category or micro subscription category, you want to make sure that you're just tempering what you deliver. And I mean, because your really goal in the end is sustainability, and a sustainable membership is a really great long-term program. It's worth everything. So, you have a blueprint to do all this, to figure this out, and start with a plan about what you might offer within and what you might charge. And I hope that has given you some like excitement around what you can offer. And I also just want to say that there's all these other things that you have to learn about in your membership. And I dove into a little bit your membership model and type a little bit today, but there's, a lot more in-depth trainings that I have on that. I help people in my programs go through like the member journey and the outcomes and mapping out like your content, what your cycle might be like, what your calls might be like, deliverables. And then I also go through like your positioning, because your positioning is super important for figuring out like who's going to buy this and how is it going to become irresistible to them. So your sales page copy is always something I'm pushing people on, because with a membership, people aren't usually buying off of one-on-one calls. So they're going to have to get that feeling when they see your sales page and read through it. I walk people through founding members launch, building your ongoing sales and marketing funnels after you've launched, because once you launch, you have to actually really get serious about doing that ongoing sales and growth. Onboarding systems and retention strategies. Those are all things you need to think about when you're launching a membership. And I can help you with all of this. So, I can say you can figure out this all on your own, but you might be constantly second guessing like I did, or you can try to build something more that you're really confident from the beginning, which will go a long way in allowing you to get to the sales and marketing, which is what you're going to be needing to be spending your time on. Because believe it or not, the content delivery with your membership really does get into a flow, and it gets much easier over time. And the sales and marketing is going to be the biggest thing. So if you haven't launched yet, or even if you have and you want to fix it, I do have Membership School, which is a really robust program, which I mentioned comes within the Scaling Deep Society. And it'll teach the entire ecosystem of growing a highly successful value-priced membership, unique to you, your strengths, and your ideal members, with a focus on sales and marketing as well, because that's kind of what I'm really into helping people with too. So to get into that at the best price, you can go on over to this training I have, How to Grow a Wildly Successful Membership, that provides financial freedom and fulfillment. And this will give you more of my approach and style to how to position your membership, how to structure your content so it's really easy to run, and also how to keep enrolling your members evergreen style. So that's where you can hit that to find out, and then also find out how you can work with me privately if you need some support. So I think
Wonderful.
that's me.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right.
Oh, and I'm on Instagram at Lisa Princik if you want to actually find me there too, because I never say that, but I'm actually there.
I was going to ask, where can we find you? We do have links that Misty so courteously dropped in the chat as well. If you wanted to see more of Lisa in all the different places you can find her. All right. So I have questions. I'm willing to bet we have too many questions to be able to get through them all. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to treat this like a little rapid fire round for Lisa. And while I do that, guys who are here in the audience, prepare a thought and type it in the chat. What is the one thing you got away from this presentation so far? We're going to have a waterfall of that in just a moment, but I'm going to jump through a couple of questions and then show you guys a special offer from Heartbeat here at the end as well. So Lisa, while they're prepping their thoughts on what they got out of this, pricing a lifetime membership, do you do it as a cost multiplier of an annual cost? Or do you come up with some other model?
So usually to do that, you come up with the amount that is slightly more than what your lifetime value is. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. I think that was
So if
from
your average member stays and they spend, say, $500, you might charge $700 or something, or $800 for a lifetime.
Okay, so you would go based on the true LTV calculation of like how long are they there experiencing the value.
It's harder at the beginning when you don't have like really good numbers yet and you don't have those like, oh, I haven't been around for years. It's harder to calculate that at the beginning, but like that can give you a sense of what the value is or what you want to charge, what's worth to you to keep going for many years. Right?
Okay. Let's see here. We also had a question earlier on that I missed about what are your feelings about a very low flat rate fee to get started as a promotion and for a boxed amount of time and then doing a monthly rate? What do you feel about that model?
Yeah, I think that's a great idea because I think sometimes you need to find your groove. So I would probably start with a minimum 3 or 6 months.
Okay. And then we had another one. Was it better to sometimes do a cohort structure than a evergreen ongoing membership? And when do you make the judgment between them?
I would say it can be easier to start that way, especially if you're not 100% sure how the membership is going to go and you don't feel confident that you're going to get enough people to last and who you're going to sell to next. And I often recommend people like just start with like a 3-month program that can turn into a membership if you're really not sure about starting out of the gate with a membership.
Okay. I'm double checking a few people. A couple of the comments I'd saved here were more sentiments along the line, and a couple of them might be deeper questions than we have time to answer here. So what I'll do is I'll say if you guys have questions we didn't get to, please reach out to Lisa. This is her whole shtick. This is her whole thing. She is an expert in this space, and she is excellent at it. So if you guys would queue up in the chat, what's the one thing you really got out of this conversation, out of this lesson, this tutorial today? And if you could, I will go to countdown 3, 2, 1. If you could drop it in. All right. So 3, 2, 1. Go ahead and send us that comment. Let's see in the chat, what are the things that you got out of this lesson today? I'll read them off real quick. Identifying clearly what level of offer I'm giving, not to underprice, the concept of value pricing. We need to value our time. Yes, we need to value our time. Value with multiple exclamation points. Thinking of the value of transformation. So much information. Love the levels of offer in particular. Pyramid levels, clarity before acting. Don't go overboard on member benefits if your cost is low. At least I think we got a lot of really strong takeaways. I think
That's great.
This is really great, really wonderful. All right, and guys, if I may, before we go, I'm going to screen share real quick because I do have a special thank you I wanted to say for those who did attend today. I do want to share that we do have a little thank you note that we like to make sure that those who did attend who may not be using Heartbeat yet, obviously, I and Misty are a little bit biased on the platform that you use because we are part of the Heartbeat team, but we really do have a lot of powerful ways to put into practice all the pricing ideas that Lisa shared today, particularly that we rolled out a brand new robust payments infrastructure upgrade that gives you more personalization and customization than ever before. So if you want to try Heartbeat for your first 3 months at half off the regular rate, for the next 2 days, you can use heartbeat.chat/Lisa. And if you type that into your browser or get the link out of the chat, you'll be able to start a free trial. And then if you decide to go forward and purchase Heartbeat, you'll be able to get it for half off the regular price for your first 3 months. Just to have some time to stand everything up without the pressure of needing to worry about getting ROI in your first couple of days. So I'm really excited that we offer this to you guys here. And I do also want to let you know that this is one of many events on our schedule. We've covered future-proofing your membership. We have retention accelerators to squash churn. We have $1 million community offerings. And we have a lot of other future community collaborations coming up. Too many to really list them all out here. But if you guys are not in the Hearth, the community for community builders built by Heartbeat, join there. And this calendar is at your disposal to join us. So at the end here, Lisa, any parting thoughts you want to leave us with before we wrap up?
I want to say also, Heartbeat is a great platform. I use it for my membership community, so I highly recommend everyone use that.
Well, thank you. We're happy to have earned that.
Yeah, and feel free to come and find me, scalingdeep.com, and that's probably the best place to come and reach out and ask me a question. But yeah, thanks for the good, thoughtful comments.
Wonderful. Amazing comments and amazing questions. Yes, Rich, if you have questions, you can always come into the Hearth and you can come in and ask them there. And Lisa, you're welcome in the Hearth anytime if you want to see some of the questions we get in there. So what we're going to do here is we're going to wrap up the live stream portion, guys. Lisa and Misty and I will wind up backstage to talk a little bit after this. But thank you all in the audience. I think we were up to 50 at one point attending live. Thank you guys all for being here. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. And just thank you so much. And Lisa, thank you. Thank you for teaching us all that you did today.
It's great to be here.
All right, so we'll spin down the live. Thanks so much, guys. And Lisa, I'll see you backstage. Hang on one sec.